Greetings, Bat family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by real fans for real movies. You can find us all over social media on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you will find us. If you're a fan of the show and you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that. No pressure if you don't want to, it's okay, but we appreciate all our patrons. You guys are so cool. You just do it out of the kindness of your heart, and it really does mean a lot. So if you're interested in that, you can go check it out. Go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big old thank you to all of you who have done it. You make our lives that much easier, and you make us feel good. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I got to give a shout out to our old pal Jim Scroggs. He's actually been on the show a couple times. I think a couple times, at least once. I thought maybe more than once. But good old Jim Scroggs, he just upped his pledge, which was very sweet. So thanks, Jim. You're the best. Hope you're doing well, and we love you. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. It's always just my name, Andy DiGenova. So this episode, we're going to go back to Batman Cape Crusader. It's been a couple episodes since we reviewed the first few. And I said, you know what? That'll be good on a slow week or something to do a couple more, because this is the rare occasion where we've got a brand new Batman show happening in real time with this podcast. So yeah, we're going to review a couple more episodes of Cape Crusader, and then we're going to check in with you folks. We're going to open up the Wayne Manor mailbox, and joining me for that is someone who we've missed. It's been a minute, and I'm so glad he's back. It's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
Howdy. So a slow week with a slow guest. Is that how it is?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's like when all other options are tapped out, I'm like, I guess I'll call Brendan. You know, it's like
Preston's
late at night.
Unavailable. The Fire Rises guys are unavailable. Yeah, I get it.
You know, it's like a late Saturday night. It's 2 a.m. Nobody's texting me back, and I'm like, I guess Brendan will have to do.
Hey, you up?
Yeah, you up? You up? Just chilling, you.
Yeah.
Anyway, good to have you back. I just, in all honesty, it's just been schedules not aligning.
Yeah, there's been a couple of weeks where you've reached out, and I've been away, or just had. And then last weekend was Father's Day here in Australia, so it just didn't happen, unfortunately. But I'm free today, so here we go.
Well, happy Father's Day.
Well, thank you
to you and all of our Australian fathers.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. We had a good time.
That's good. And or as I'd like to say to you, Happy Daddy's Day.
Oh, thank you. Puppy.
I hate puppy. Shut up, you're so stupid.
It was really good. And I tell you what, I'm stoked to record today. A, because I haven't been on for ages, and B, I haven't been able to talk about Cape Crusader because I wasn't available the first time around when you and Jamie talked about it. So yeah, really, really, really pumped. Because spoiler alert, I freaking love this show.
All right. Well, it works out because, yeah, I even said on that show, I'm like, well, you know, maybe we'll come back and have Brendan on because I knew you wanted to talk about it and schedules just didn't work out. And so, yeah, this gives you a chance to talk about the show in general. And then we can talk about 2 more episodes in a little more depth. And yeah, you know, this is kind of a nice thing to do as we've got these first 10. Whenever we, you know, want to break it up a little bit, it's nice to have this option.
Exactly. And I haven't asked, I meant to ask in our messages before, is this where, are you currently just up to these episodes? Like, have you just done the 5 now, or are you a little bit ahead?
I am up through 7, so I have 3 more.
Okay.
Because I've been a man of my word. I've been watching like 1 or 2 every weekend.
Right.
Depending on how much Harley will allow me to without demanding to watch something else.
Cool. So you've seen 7?
I've seen up through 7. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because 7, I loved 7. I can't wait. I feel like that Friends episode. I don't know if you get the reference, like 7. But I hopefully I'm on an episode where we talk about that one because I can't.
Which one was 7?
Onomatopoeia.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he's not the reason why I loved it, but that was a good episode.
All right. Well, you know, let's save that. Let's put that off to the side. But yes, now that you say that, that is the one. That's the last one I watched.
Yeah. You've got an interesting one after that, and then 2 really, really good ones.
Okay. Cool. Looking forward to it. Well, we're recording this on a Friday. Guess what I'm watching tomorrow Saturday morning, eating my spooky cereal. I'm gonna watch Cape Crusader. So
Nice.
all right. Well,
You'll want to just watch one if you've been doing it one or two of a weekend, because the next two, it's not officially a two-parter, but it's a two-parter. Like, yeah, so you're gonna want to watch that in one hit.
Okay, noted. I will do that.
Or you can watch three tomorrow.
No, I'll probably do one, and then I'll do the other two maybe the following weekend.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's actually get to it. Let's make it official. Here we go. It's time to talk about 2 more episodes of Batman Caped Crusader. Now, a couple episodes, me and Jamie, we gave our overall thoughts and impressions of the show, and we did review the first 3 episodes in a fair amount of depth. And so now we were going to talk about episodes 4 and 5. But before we do that, Brendan, I want to give you a chance to just share your overall thoughts and feelings and impressions. You already gave it away a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's great. But now you can share even more your thoughts. Now, I mean, I assume you've gotten through them all. So your overall thoughts of season 1.
I'm 1.5 through it. I've watched it all the way through. Then I've been watching it again, like not as, not binging it or anything, but just sporadically been watching my way through it again. So I'm up to, well, actually the Harley Quinn episode, the second one we'll be doing today. So I'm 1.5 the way through it. So I'm sitting at my computer right now. So the best way I can describe how I feel about this show is insert the gif of Randy from South Park sitting at the computer, just covered in jizz.
Okay. Nothing but high class stuff on this show.
Honestly, I love it. I was always really looking forward to it. It came out at an interesting time for me because it was smack bang like in the middle of the first week of the Olympics, and people who know me know that I put my life on hold for 16 days every 4 years for the Olympics. I live and breathe that shit. I absolutely love it. So I didn't get through these as quickly as I probably ordinarily would have. I watched it over the course of about 7 or 8 days because a lot of my viewing was locked in with the Olympics. So it's better than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was going to be good. The voice cast is outstanding. Hamish Linklater does such a good job doing Batman and Bruce Wayne. I've actually, but I watched Midnight Mass this past week too, so I've been getting a lot of Hamish Linklater at the moment. Yeah, going backwards, different mediums. So yeah, and I'm really impressed with what he's done. Dietrich Bader as Harvey, you can hear the Dietrich Bader in there, but he changes his voice quite a bit, which is really impressive. John DiMaggio as Bullock is really, really good as well, and I will say Bullock and Flass in this. Holy shit, what a pair of assholes they are.
Yeah, no kidding.
Bullock is going to have to, if he's going to become the Bullock that we all know and love, he's going to have to do a lot in season 2 to redeem himself, because in this, he's just an asshole in this. Like, yeah, like he's kind of more like Eckhart in Batman 89 than he is, Bullock that we all know and love. So that's interesting. And, the supporting cast are really, really good. So I won't go through all of them, but they're my standouts. The animation style is great. It's, I've said to a lot of people, if you love Batman the Animated Series, I just don't fathom how you wouldn't at a minimum really, really, really like this. I wouldn't say it's a spiritual prequel. I mean, it could be, but it's not in the same universe, but it kind of sits just to the side of it, if that makes sense. I can see a lot of Batman the Animated Series in it, particularly that fourth season, like with just some of the style of the characters and everything, and like profile views that you see sometimes of Batman. It's like, well, that's Batman from the animated series, like the jaw and everything, and the mouth's the same. But yeah, it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. When I finished watching, and Jess watched it with me too, all the way through the first time, she loved it as well. She's like, "This is fantastic," and like I wasn't allowed to watch episodes without her. We both loved it, and sign me up for more of this now. Put it in an IV and just hook it straight up to my main artery. I want it, and I want it now.
Awesome. Well, we are getting another 10 episodes. I had to laugh a little this week because people were running this as a headline as if it was like news that like, the next 10 episodes of Cape Crusader are already in production. It's like, yeah, we already knew that. Yes, they ordered 20 episodes to start, y'all, and they cut it into 10-episode seasons. We knew that. So I'm sorry. Sometimes I have to giggle, and I'm like, I guess it's just a slow news day that we're dredging up old news and pretending we didn't know it. But hey, whatever. But I mean, I'm so glad you like it so much. I agree. I think I'm slightly less enthusiastic than you, but I still think it's a really great show. But yeah, it's really good, and I'm really happy with it. What's interesting is, you said it's not really a prequel to BTAS, but it's certainly like a spiritual companion, I think.
Yes, absolutely. It's the closest we've had to it, obviously not including the Justice League cartoons, but it's the closest we've had to it since Batman the Animated Series. It's, you can see their fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, for sure. But like when Jamie and I talked about it, I was like, what's interesting is, Batman the Animated Series had a lot of fun with mixing up the timeline and like the different elements where some things felt modern, some things felt very old. And so it gave it a very unique in no specific time. But I feel this is much more deliberately like it's in the 1940s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he said, he goes, oh, but they have computers, or he said something that they had like more modern technology, and I'm up through 7 and I've still not seen any modern technology. So I don't know what.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of microfilm and maps and,
I mean, the fact that the Batcave does not even have a computer, it just has a big map and a dry erase board, maybe the dry erase board is modern. They didn't have dry erase boards in the 40s. Right. But yeah, so no, it's just interesting where it's a lot more deliberate about being set way back when in the 40s, but that's fun. It gives it its own unique spin, and I don't have a problem with that. And I think it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. You went through it once, you're starting again, and that's great. I will finish it probably sooner than later, but yeah, I've really been enjoying going through it myself, and I'm not mad at my decision to take my time. I'm able to just kind of savor it, especially because then when we decided to do this, I'm like, well, now I got to go back and rewatch 3 and 4, or excuse me, 4 and 5. Where I'm like, well, at least I didn't get too far ahead. It didn't take too much to just go right back.
No, actually, the good thing about it too is the second last episode you saw and the episode you haven't watched yet, they could both be watched at spooky season.
Oh,
because you had Gentleman Ghost, so it was very, demons and the unholy and ghosts and stuff, and the next one delves into that sort of thing too.
Interesting.
So in a 10-episode season, it's given us 2 episodes that would absolutely count at scary season.
I would also count Clayface.
Yeah, actually, true. Yeah, there you go, 3.
Yeah, I think that episode is totally appropriate for spooky season. Well, let's dive into the episodes themselves. So the first episode here is episode 4, The Night of the Hunters. This one was directed by Christina Sada. She has done so many of the episodes, at least in these first 10. So good on her. I wasn't familiar with her work prior to this, but she's doing an amazing job. So I wanted to make sure I gave her a shout out. And this is our Firebug episode. And I'll say, I was like, what a weird choice to do Firebug, not Firefly. And they make it a point multiple times in the episode to be like, it's not Firefly, it's Firebug. And then, guys, we're going to talk spoilers. I should warn y'all. You should watch these. Then when the episode ended, I was like, oh, so that's why it wasn't Firefly. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm with you now. So the episode itself, we'll kind of just go through the story and give our thoughts along the way. This is now after the incidents in episode 3. And what I like about the show is I feel like it is serialized, but not too much.
No,
Like
you're
just
not
enough.
missing any. You could jump in anywhere, and you're not going to be scratching your head going, "What the hell's going on?" But there are threads that that go all the way through.
Exactly. So I like that there are certainly things that continue from episode to episode, but you can also just pick any one episode and watch it and not be lost because it still has its own self-contained stories. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the last episode, which was the Catwoman episode, there were all the photos being taken, and Batman was like, you know what? I don't even care what you do with the ones of me. Just use the ones of Catwoman to put her away. And because of this, there were photos of him beating up on the cops that go public.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the episode I did with Jamie, I failed to mention this, I think, and so I got to do it now, is I love that Eel O'Brien is the photographer from the newspaper.
That doesn't ring a bell.
Eel O'Brien is the alter ego of Plastic Man.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that random? But it's cool.
Good pull.
Yeah, super, a little strange, but like I don't expect him to become Plastic Man, but I mean, he could. But yeah, just like when I heard that name on the last episode, I even had to put on the captions to see if I had heard it right. And they put it wrong. So you have to actually look it up. And then he shows up again in this episode too. So he actually carries on.
Yeah. When we get to it, I'll bring it up again, but there's a real deep cut in the next episode where it's like, if you don't know, you don't know. And even if you do know, you need to be listening to hear it. But I've heard it both times. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. But anyway, we'll get to it.
I think I know what you're talking about, but yes, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, because of those pictures of Batman beating up on some cops, and they were, they're dirty cops, Bullock and Flass, you're right. I love them because I love to hate them.
Yes.
They're really good characters, and man, they're also complete a-holes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that so they got beat up on by Batman, and because of that, now Batman is considered a menace and everything. And the mayor decides that he's got to address it, and so he has a press conference talking about Batman and what a problem he is, and he is going to put Jim Gordon in charge of a task force to take down the Batman. And when he's giving this press conference, a lot of people picked up on this. I wasn't the only one, but it's super cool. There is a cameo of one of the reporters standing there. Did you happen to notice? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Funnily enough, Jess picked it because she and her brother watched a lot of the Fleischer Superman cartoons growing up. So she was onto it straight away. And when she pointed it out to me, I was like, oh, it is too. But yeah, she saw it straight away.
I love that. So yeah, it's the Lois Lane from the old Fleischer Superman cartoons. Mm-hmm. She's standing right there front and center. And then there's another shot later on. She is also in. And I just think that is so fun. And again, something I think I failed to say when we did the first episode with Jamie is that this show, yes, as we said, feels like a companion to Batman the Animated Series, but it even more so feels like a companion to the Fleischer Superman cartoons.
Yes.
It is so in that vein, in the best possible way, because I just recently bought those this year. They were on sale on iTunes, and they've all been remastered. And it's the first time I actually sat down and watched them from beginning to end, as opposed to like just seeing clips and stuff over the years. They're so cool. And it's only because I started watching them recently that I was able to pick out Lois Lane, because otherwise I never would have. Never would have. But yeah, it was like they were like super cheap on iTunes, and I was like, oh, I should own these. And they're really cool. The animation is just mind-blowing.
Yeah. And you can see why they wanted to emulate it 30 odd years ago now in BTAS. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, you definitely see a lot of that influence here in this show. But Jim Gordon puts Renee Montoya in charge of the task force, and Bullock and Flass are very mad about this because they got humiliated and they want to take down the Batman. But Gordon's smart. He knows that they can't be trusted, and Montoya can. And so she's like, all right, we gotta catch the Batman, and the way to do it is bait. And so all the cops out there, and they start to fake muggings, hoping that Batman is going to step in.
They've done this before, haven't they? I've definitely seen this before. I just can't remember where.
I don't know. I mean, I'm you're probably right. I just don't know where. You're
Mm.
right. It's ever so vaguely familiar, but I wouldn't be able to place it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're doing these fake crimes, hoping that Batman is going to step in so they can trap him. What I do love is as they're doing these, the camera always just sort of shifts over and you see Batman watching.
Yeah.
So it's like he knows exactly what they're doing. He's watching them, but he's too smart for it.
He's
And so
Batman.
while this, yeah, I mean, he's Batman. So while this is all happening, this is where Eel O'Brien, we check back in with him and he's out there trying to get photos of Batman and of all this stuff happening. And so they just, they're like, we got to up the ante, and that results in them doing a car chase, which then draws out the Batmobile.
I knew you weren't a fan of the Batmobile.
Not really.
And we all know my feelings of the Matt Reeves Batmobile and stuff. This one, I don't know. It doesn't. I kind of like it. Like it's still more like it's more stylized than the other cars you see. But for a 40s Batmobile with that technology and stuff, I don't dislike it. You could always whack some fins on it, I guess. But this one sits with me a lot better than the current live action one.
I mean, a lot of people have different allergies. Like Catherine's allergic to fish. Matt Reeves is allergic to fins. I don't know why, but he is. But yeah, it's fine. It certainly feels appropriate to the time period. But like I said on the episode with Jamie, I have no desire to own a toy of it. So like that says something. It's not cool enough for me to go, oh, I want one of those on my desk. Like it needs a little more flash, a little more something.
If they did a Hot Wheels, I'd get it. I wouldn't get like a larger scale model, but if there was a Hot Wheels one, I'd absolutely get it.
Well, okay. But yeah, so the chase is pretty cool. And I do appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, he just like busts right through these cop cars and stuff. And so it's pretty cool to see it in action. But again, he gets away and there's nothing they can do to stop him. And so they are failing because he's just too smart to fall for all their little tricks. And so because they're failing, Dent, and this is one of those threads that kind of has been carrying all season long, is Harvey Dent. Yes, he's the DEA, but also he is running for mayor. Mm-hmm. And so he's got these political aspirations, and he's much more sleazier Harvey Dent than what we're used to, especially
he's a bit of a turd.
Yeah. And so he uses this as like, to his political gain, where he's like, the mayor promised this and the Batman's just running around them. And that's why when I'm mayor, I'll never let this happen. And I think it's when he's doing this that Lois Lane is there again, is when he's given this speech.
Yeah.
And so, this pisses off the mayor. The mayor calls Gordon, is like, I promised them that you were going to get Batman. I need results. I need good press. I need this. And Gordon's like, I am doing what I can. And he knows that his job is on the line. And this comes to one of my favorite parts of the episode is, he just got chewed out by the mayor. He's frustrated. He feels bad. He walks into the other room in the headquarters and there's Batman going through the files.
Yeah.
And like Batman's there, like, he's looking at like the board, right? The board with all the info and all their plans and stuff. So I just love that he walks in and Batman's like looking at everything they got on him and what they're trying to do. And this leads to a little bit of a chase of him chasing after Batman to the top of the roof and then eventually Batman getting away. So did you notice there's already a spotlight on the roof of police headquarters?
I did see that.
Yeah, so I thought that was a fun little setup for, what is probably to come.
They need to point it up and shine it on some blimps.
They should, indeed. So, again, they have failed, and so this is where Barbara's like, okay, listen, he's obviously too smart for us. But wait, is it Barbara or is it Renee? Whatever. It's Montoya and Barbara. I think they're all there. And they're like, okay, he's too smart for this. Maybe we can use that. And so they call in Harley and Quinzel to do like a psychological evaluation thing. And so she kind of gives a presentation to all the cops of what drives Batman and, basically what she thinks of him. And hopefully this will give them some ideas on how they can trap him. But one of those things she says, well, first of all, she name drops someone. Did you notice?
Maybe.
Oh, she says, my colleague, Dr. Crane.
Oh,
yeah.
I must have. Look, to be honest, I did watch this morning, and Henry was in the bed as well, being a chatty 3-year-old. So I may have missed that, but yeah, I can't imagine I would have missed it the first time around.
Yeah, so love that, setting that up. But anyway, she basically is like, but he's attracted to these other costumed villains, these bad guys, these people who are just as colorful as him. So, like, just doing these fake street muggings aren't going to work. If you want to draw him out, you need one of these larger than life characters. And so Bullock and Flask get an idea. They're like, okay, if that's what it's going to do, we can get our revenge on the Batman. And this is where they bring in Firebug. So even though it's like a Firebug episode, he's not the main villain. I appreciate that it's an episode where there's a lot more going on in the world, and he's just one element of that.
Yes.
So it really avoids kind of like the villain of the week thing where it's like, oh, then this week we're going to meet Firebug, and this week we're going to meet Mr. Freeze, or like, I appreciate it's a very different way of telling that story and bringing him in.
Yeah, because I mean, realistically, the villains in this episode are Bullock and Flask.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And he's just a means to their end.
Yeah.
So because he's already been captured. He is a client of Barbara's. And so, yeah, Flass and Bullock are like, okay, this is the kind of guy that Batman seems to like. So let's take him. Let's say we're going to take him to Arkham. So they get him out of jail. They make sure that they grab his outfit and his equipment, and they put it all in the trunk, and they head out. And Barbara does see them taking him and is like, where are you guys going? And they said, oh, we're taking him to Arkham, and she goes to Jim. They realize that something's up already. So they end up pursuing them through this whole thing. So they're going, they've got Firebug in the back, and they mentioned that all the stuff is in the trunk and the trunk doesn't lock. They're making it very clear that there are opportunities.
It's terrible.
And then they're like, oh, it sounds like engine trouble. And they have a little breakdown and they go look at the engine and just wait. And sure enough, yeah, Firebug gets out, grabs the stuff and takes off. And they're like, well, great, perfect. That's all we needed. I guess he wasn't too dense. And so off he goes. Once he's free, there's a really cool moment where he pulls down his goggles.
Yes.
And he's looking at a building.
He sees.
Yeah, he's looking at the building, and then he pulls down the goggles, and the whole thing is on fire.
Uh-huh.
And then he sees all the people in the street and the kids playing in the street, and he sees them as fire, and you just really see how crazy he is and how in love with fire he is.
Yes, that was very cool. Very twisted.
Yeah, and like I said, multiple times they're like, all right, Firefly, and he goes, it's Firebug. And again, I appreciate it's a nice bit, but also it's there to make clear to us, the viewer, that this is not Firefly. So Batman is watching. Firebug breaks into this building. He finds some fuel and he just starts going crazy. He starts burning the whole thing up. So Batman's watching. He enters. Flass and Bullock and the other cops, they go in knowing that Batman's going to be there. And they're like, great, we can get Firebug. We get Batman. And so Batman has to fight the fire, fight the cops, fight Firebug, and try to save as many people as he can. He's got his work cut out for him, but there's some really cool action in here with him like fighting off.
This is a great scene, like reminiscent of Batman Begins a little bit, like going through the building with the cops after him, but and having Gordon sort of helping him and vice versa. But it's really well done. Great Batman cop dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like really beautiful with the fire and again, him trying to incapacitate the cops, but pursuing Firebug and also trying to help people. Like it was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
So Firebug does the damage he can. Batman tries to help as many people as he can. And eventually Firebug runs out of fuel. Bullock and Flass corner him, and they're like, well, he could talk about how he escaped. And it cuts to the outside, and you hear a gun go off, and he comes falling out the window. Bullock shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those moments, like in the first episode when the penguin killed her son. This moment I did not see coming, and I was like, oh my God, they ain't playing around.
No. Or you'd think it like, out of the two of them, you'd think it would be Flass.
Yes.
Because like I said, at some point, you want Bullock, to be redeemed, but I don't know if you can do it with this version.
I don't know, but so you really actually feel bad for Firebug. I mean, he was crazy.
He's been set up from the start.
But yeah, exactly. Like, and he seemed kind of pathetic and, a little sad. But you're right. Flass is more of the brains of the operation, and
exactly.
Bullock is the brawn. But you're right. Flass feels like the more cold-blooded version, and it is weird that Bullock is the one who pulls the trigger.
Yeah, full on.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of those things that I think I immediately like messaged you and Joe and Eric being like, holy shit. Oh my God, Bullock just shooting Firebug. I didn't see that coming. So yeah, that's crazy. And then Bullock kind of stands in the window, and Neil O'Brien gets a photo of him, that he was the one who did it. So Gordon knows this neighborhood. He knows the building. He runs in after Batman, especially because he's the one who's supposed to be taking down the Batman. And so he runs in after Batman, and then he realizes that Batman is saving these kids, and there's one more. And I love how quickly he grabs that kid, and now they're on the same side.
I will say too, in that whole scene, I love the part where Batman jumps out the window, turns around, fires the grapple gun, and then swings back in the other window. That was awesome.
Yeah. There's some good Batman swinging in the show, so that makes me happy. Yep. And you're right, that moment was really awesome.
But I think he goes out one way, but then spins in the air. It's so good.
Yeah. So I can't remember if that was before or after the laundry shoot, but
it was definitely before.
Okay, it was before. So anyway, Gordon and Batman, they've got the kids. They're working together. I appreciated how quickly that happens, and yeah, they come across the laundry chute as a way to try and get the kids out of there. And I loved when he's like, what's at the bottom? And he goes, I don't know, but we're about to find out.
Kind of reminded me of that scene in The Phantom, actually.
I thought of Halloween 4. Halloween 5. Excuse me. It's Halloween 5 with the laundry chute. It's like the best part of that movie.
Yeah, not many. But I love the way Gordon switches too. Like he's ready to take him out. He's ready to arrest him. But the second he sees that he's helping the kids and helping, victims trying to escape, he just instantly, okay, let's do this. Like, he realizes that Batman isn't the bad guy.
Yeah, agreed. It's so cool. And yeah, they're working together, and I love it. And so they get the kids out, they're safe, and Gordon comes out, and they even ask him, they're like, Batman was in there. Did you see him? And he says he didn't even see him. Mm-hmm. So already you can see his loyalty shifting, which is very cool.
Yeah. Well, he knows what he's up against too. Like, he knows that Flass and Bullock set this whole thing up. He knows what's happened, and it's their fault. So, he's not going to focus on Batman when the rot's in his department.
Well, and he even says, I think it's the conversation with he and Barbara where he's like, I am wasting my time and resources fighting, chasing Batman when there are real crimes out there that need my attention, and it's all for politics, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, they managed to get the kids out. Batman disappears. Gordon doesn't catch him. And then, it cuts to Gordon chewing out Flass and Bullock because he does know what they're up to. And he says, I'm going to nail you guys. I know what you did. I know what I know what's going on, and you're not going to get away with it. And just then he gets
this part is so irritating. Well, first off, Flass pulls out the paper.
Yeah. He's like,
you haven't seen the papers. And they know they've gotten away with it, and there's nothing Gordon can do. And then that getting the call from the mayor, and just how belittling it would feel for Gordon to get that phone call and just have to grit his teeth and say, yes, sir. And then have those two smug sitting in front of him and not only having to let them go, but essentially promoting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yep. So the mayor puts them in charge and even says, give them whatever they need.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it is. It's just, I mean, but it's like, it sets up this great dynamic of just the corruption of Gotham.
Oh, absolutely. But it's such a, they're such assholes.
Yeah. So they're now in charge. And then it ends in a very downbeat note where Gordon is at the bar and he's like, I'm not licked yet. And he's joined by Montoya and Barbara. And it's like this really nice moment of these three good people, you know, who've just got beaten by the system, just sitting there having a drink and licking their wounds. And it's just, I feel like it's just a great note to go out on.
Yep. Agreed.
So yeah, give me your overall thoughts of the episode. I mean, we've talked as we went, but yeah.
I think it's great. Like, I don't think there's a bad episode among them. I mean, there's ones that are better than others, but this is definitely on the upper echelon of the episodes of, the 10 that we've seen so far. I like, I see who I think is Firefly being the villain, and I'm kind of like, eh. And then it tells this whole other story that I didn't see coming. And it's not about, like you said, the villain of the week. It's not about Firebug. It's about this hunt for Batman and what these crooked cops are willing to do to get ahead, how far they're willing to break the law, and then they get away with it. Like, it's I know you and I roll our eyes with the whole like Matt Reeves crime saga, but it is this was a crime drama episode that just happened to have a goofy costumed villain in it, but he was a puppet. He's a victim in this episode just as much as anyone, really.
Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was great. It wasn't what I expected because, again, you see the little thumbnail of Firebug and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. They're going to introduce him and he's going to set some fires and Batman's got to stop him. But I do appreciate, and honestly, I think it's true about the whole show, is that I appreciate that it is more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that this show, it's for everyone. I think it is simple enough that kids can watch it, but it is also complicated enough that, I mean, all of us grown adults are watching it too. So I feel like they find a really nice balance of that. And this is a good example of like, yeah, it could have just been a Firebug episode, but it's so much more interesting just about the landscape of Gotham and how it's changing and how Gordon is kind of powerless to help it.
Yeah. And it's another step forward too, because the task force has changed. Pardon me, that'll come into play later on as well. And, it's setting up more things that will get paid off.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it's just starting to create a little bit of trust between Gordon and Batman. It's the first step in that. And that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, I agree. I think it's a great episode. It's unexpected. Again, when Firebug is killed, I didn't see it coming and it was gasp, clutch my pearls.
You went on Joe Granado for a minute.
But it was good. So yeah, that is the Night of the Hunters. And that's why, so it was one of those where even the title, I was like, wait, isn't this the Firebug episode? Why is it the Night of the Hunters? But then it makes all the sense. I don't know if you saw it, but like someone posted all the really cool title cards for all these episodes.
I think it was Julian found them. Julian Chan.
Yeah. And like they're out there. It's crazy to me that they don't use them in the real show because they're beautiful and again very reminiscent of Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why they didn't. It's like so close to the animated series, but I kind of, for me, the closing shots of every episode are always kind of that almost like still painting look, like. I think it was the one. Was it the one? Yeah, sort of how it fades out from the bar and everything. And it's just like really nice, like nice scenic shots. And yeah, to me, that kind of feels like this version's episode of the title card is the closing shots are always a really beautiful. Like I said, it looks like it could be a painting on a wall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can see both sides to it. I mean, I also wish they were there, but I can see maybe why they didn't go that route at the same time.
Yeah. Well, all right, move on to the next episode number 5, The Stress of Her Regard. So we've met her a couple of times already, Dr. Harley Quinzel, but now we get to meet her alter ego, Harley Quinn. So the first thing, and it's kind of what you were just saying, the first thing I noticed about this episode is it opens up on this big vista of Gotham City at night. And I was just like, man, the cityscapes of Gotham City are just beautiful in this show.
Yep.
So yeah, just that stuff. I'm just such a sucker for that. And I'm like, oh yeah, Gotham looks great. I'm into it. But I think I know why you were giggling.
Yeah. the quote unquote villain who we get to meet.
So the first villain we meet who's going nuts and running out there and he's lost his mind, King Tut.
Yes.
I did not expect to see King Tut in this show, and I was delighted.
He's, the brief moment that he's in it. But again, like, really great storytelling. You know, he's a step for the real story, kind of like Firebug in the last episode. Like, he sets things in motion.
Yeah, exactly. But still used in a way that, like, we'll see how things go. Here, his alter ego is Fletcher Deming. And I was like, that doesn't sound familiar. So I had to Google it, and no, that is a new alter ego for King Tut.
Mm-hmm.
His original alter ego was something else, Edward someone or other, but it's not Fletcher Deming. And so, yeah, I guess they just made up a new one for the sake of this show. But regardless, I appreciated that we got a version of King Tut in this. He is convinced he is King Tut, and he's almost immediately brought into custody. But it made me happy. I don't want to jump ahead, but what the heck? There's a moment where I thought he was going to die.
Yep. Exactly.
And I was like, wait, you're going to kill King Tut? Don't kill him, because you never know. You could use him again. He doesn't die. So I was very happy because I thought they might. But yes, they find out he's Fletcher Deming. He's some sort of billionaire. He ended up in Arkham because of all this. And I think it's Alfred who says, Arkham, like, he should be able to afford better care than that as a billionaire. And Bruce says, well, actually, he gave everything away not long ago, so he's essentially broke, and so now he's in Arkham. And so they're like, well, maybe I misjudged him. And Batman's like, no, there's something else going on here, because he is not the only billionaire who recently has given away his entire fortune and has disappeared. And so Batman is on the case trying to figure out what exactly is going on here.
It makes you wonder what would have gone on if if Bruce had continued his therapy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we talked about that. So there was the episode. It was the Catwoman episode where we first meet Dr. Quinzel, and she's doing therapy with Bruce, and she keeps digging into Bruce and what he's doing and who he is and his trauma and everything. And we find out that she specializes in billionaires because she has an ulterior motive with trying to get billionaires to do what she wants.
And actually, not to jump ahead again, but there was a moment in this where I thought she knew who Batman was.
Mm-hmm.
Because she'd had the sessions with Bruce.
Yeah. So it's good that Bruce quit.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, makes me want to go back and watch it, but like, because even she agreed that, like, listen, I'm going to sign. Oh no, she does offer to continue to treat him, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
She does, and he's like, no, okay. Because it's almost like, because we see her treating some of these other billionaires, especially the one where, we kind of see the turn of her going, you know what? I don't think we're making any progress. You haven't learned a thing, where she's been treating him to basically see how bad a person he really is.
Yep. And
I wonder if she was getting that from Bruce or not, Yeah.
That's the thing. I'd love to sort of have that sliding doors moment to go and see what would have happened if she'd continued.
Right. So anyway, Dr. Quinzel and Barbara, who are buddies, they're having lunch at a diner, just chatting, catching up and everything. And then Montoya shows up and joins them. And so, like, the three of them all kind of hang out and they're talking. And when that ends, we find out Harleen has a crush on Montoya and asks her out on a date.
So they're keeping that aspect of Montoya going.
Yes. Yeah.
It was
Well,
interesting
and
from the 40s.
yeah, that's a good point, right? And they don't even blink about it. It's just like, all right, it's a
Yeah.
date. So they do make a date, and Batman investigates the home of Fletcher Deming, and he has a whole like secret King Tut lair, which I loved. I thought that was so cool.
Yep.
But while he's in there, he sees all of these check stubs for Dr. Harley and Quinzel, so he knows that there's something going on there. But Bullock and Flass and the cops have trailed him there. They ambush him at King Tut's, and this also leads to another
Another
really cool
awesome scene. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, of him dropping the smoke bomb and then just popping out and grabbing them one by one. So
Yep.
great.
So good. So Batman. I love it.
Yep. So, yeah, love that. He manages to take them all out, make fools of them, and off he goes. And that's when we get to the moment with Harley and this other billionaire where he's like, oh man, I feel so much better. I feel so good. And, he's talking about like, his workers unionizing and things. And she's like, well, you know what? I disagree. I don't think we're helping. I think you're a pretty bad person. And so she flips a switch and he gets shackled to the chair. And we find out that Dr. Harlan Quinzel has an interesting night job and extracurricular activities. Who'd have seen that coming?
I don't know.
Not I.
No. With that, but sort of, before we move on, what do you think of what they've done with Harley? Because for me, I don't dislike it. I mean, I know it's the first time I think that we've had Harley Quinn without the Joker. She's already got these criminal ways and stuff like that. She's not being influenced. She hasn't been broken down and mentally abused by someone. She's her own the hero of her own story, I guess, for lack of a better term. And also too, like she's not goofy. She plays it straight. But she puts on the Harlequin costume, obviously, which again is a bit different, but not a million miles away. But she, the voice and stuff, like she's very much Harleen, when she's Harleen, but when she becomes Harley, instead of turning it up a notch, she brings it right back. It's very dry and direct, and not a lot of life in her voice, which is the exact 180 of what we're used to with Harley. But I don't know, for this version it works. I kind of like it.
It's interesting because I feel like it was Bruce Timm who essentially said exactly that, which is our Harley Quinn is an opposite of everything you know about Harley Quinn. Something to that effect, where he's like, instead of silly, she's super serious. It has nothing to do with the Joker. Like, so I have very mixed feelings about it. I don't love it. I'll be honest. I don't hate it. I think it's very interesting and I think it's effective. And what I think what I like most about it is that the Harley Quinn we know, she's a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
And when she decided to leave all that behind and join the Joker and become a supervillain, you don't really ever see her use her skills as a psychologist ever again. She kind of left that behind with everything else. And I appreciate that this Harley Quinn uses her skills in psychology as a weapon. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also a touch of poison ivy in there, in that, the people that she's hurting are bad people, but, the two wrongs don't make a right.
Right. But I just think that it's ironically, they changed so much about her that I don't even know if I would call her Harley Quinn. And that's kind of where I'm at. I like this character in this episode, and I think she's cool and effective and different, and I like what she's doing. But is she Harley Quinn? I don't think so, and that's kind of where I'm at.
I can see that, but yeah, I do. I'm the same. I do like the character, absolutely. And and I do kind of like that they're doing something a bit different. It will be interesting to see where this character goes in the future.
Yeah. So that's why I'm mixed. I do like it. I just don't know if I would call it Harley.
Yeah, I can see
Um,
that.
yeah. And the irony is like, we talked about episode 1 with the penguin. They changed the penguin's gender. And when I watched it, I was like, well, male or female, that's the penguin. Whereas this, it's like, well, Harley's still a female psychologist and she still puts on a jester outfit. But I'm like, I don't know if I think that counts. So it's just interesting how like you can change certain things but maintain the core of a character, and then others not so much. And I mean, again, your mileage may vary. So that's where I'm at. But she is unique, and again, I appreciate like what she's doing, right? So she has this big evil lair with the cells and
The
all these
playpen.
other, yeah, with like all these other billionaires, and they're all in crazy costumes. So I appreciated that as a um as an explanation for why King Tut was out there running like crazy.
Mhm.
Whereas she does this with all of her subjects when she kind of messes with their minds, is she also gives them this other persona. So there's a clown, there's
Which the clown's very much the look of the clown in Batman 66.
yeah. Um there's like a Christmas elf,
Mm-hmm.
there's
The
a
baby
baby, there's a king,
who
there's kind
gives us the who gives us a pudding.
yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting how that's how they worked in pudding, where she promises him dessert if he'll make her happy or if he'll make this other guy squeal,
Yep.
and she's like, and you can have all the pudding you want, and he's like, pudding, and I'm like, oh, that's fun. So yeah, I thought that was a nice little nod. But you're right, she like this is a Harley Quinn who, when in costume, shows no emotion. She almost talks like a Mr. Freeze.
Mm.
But she had a great line where she said, "The kings don't run this court; the jester does."
Yes.
And so, yeah, she's like psychologically torturing all of these people to kind of shape who they are or who they think they are, and at the same time forcing them to give up their fortunes to charity and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Batman is doing research, and one of the nods, I don't know if this is the one you're talking about or one that comes later, is when he's going through the microfiche, and that's why I was like, he's going through microfiche. This is so old school.
Yeah.
But when he's doing it, you see the names Valestra and Stromwell.
Yes. Oh, I did pick up on those.
So I thought that was a great nod to some of the gangsters from BTAS. I thought that was very cool. It's blink and you miss it though, like it's super
Mm-hmm.
quick. But I was like, oh, that's fun. Um, and so he's doing his research, and then Barbara is doing her own research and trying to figure out like what's happening, because she is now the defender, defending attorney for King Tut,
Mm-hmm.
for Fletcher Deming. I have to keep reminding myself of that name. So she goes to visit him, and he still believes he is King Tut. She's trying to help him. And she even asks about, oh no, she says, you need a psych eval. And I have a friend, Dr. Harleen Quinzel. And he goes, that name, I know that name. I like that name. And he's like, why do you know that name? Or she's like, why do you know it? And he goes, I don't know, but I like it. And so that's interesting that he reacts to that. But then he escapes and tries to jump off the roof. And this was the part where I was like, don't kill King Tut, because I want him to come back as King Tut. And fortunately, she stops him. Just barely, but she does.
And it's kind of cool too, the way that she stops him, like the way that he's got the straitjacket on. It's kind of like a mummy.
You're right. Yeah, I didn't really put that together, but that's true. Good point. So he does survive, but he's bananas, and so she's trying to figure out what happened. But because of the Harley connection, she thought that was odd, and she goes and finds Harley and asks her about him, and she's like, well, the name sounds familiar, but I don't know him personally. And she's like, yeah, he's this rich guy. And he goes, oh, I must have heard of him, but I don't know him. And then she's like, oh, but I have a hot date with Renee Montoya. So then they, start their little girl talk. And so Barbara's not trusting the whole situation. And there's a great scene with her and her dad where she's like, what do you do when
Yes, I loved this.
Yeah, it was really good when she's like, things are pointing in a direction you don't want to go. And he says, well, the truth is better than the alternative because at least that way you can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was, it's a really great scene.
So well written.
Yeah. So Barbara is going to keep investigating and she gets to Harley's office and it's been ransacked. I don't know who ransacked it because
I took it that it was Batman.
I thought so too, but Batman's not usually one to leave everything just completely trashed.
True, but I mean, who else would it be?
I don't know. That's why I'm confused. So I'm like, either it's Batman and he decided, I don't care. I'm just throwing everything everywhere.
Well, I mean, he is the Batman that didn't care what happened with the photos of him. Maybe he doesn't give a shit.
Well, whatever. I thought it was Batman too until I thought about it, and I was like, but yeah, it looks like it was robbed. It doesn't even look like. But regardless, someone had been there first, and so she starts looking. Barbara finds the appointment book and realizes that, yeah, Fletcher Deming was one of Harley's patients, and so she knows now that Harley lied. We find out one of these other billionaires is William Hastings, and he has this mansion up on the hill, and this is one of the people that Harley has manipulated, and so she is using this big mansion on the hill as her evil lair.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbara goes there to try and figure out what's going on, and realizes that's his home, and he's like, this is illegal, things are supposed to be confidential, so he kicks her out, and so she tries to break in by climbing the wall, and Batman catches her. And it's a great moment. I love it, where he's like, what are you doing? And
I could ask you the same.
yeah, and he's basically like, go home, I'll take care of this, I'll take care of Quinzel. And she's like, well, that's not fair.
The way he just shoots a grapple and pisses off, and she's like, well, yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah. So Batman and Barbara are both on Quinzel's case here. Here's a question. So I really like Barbara in this. It doesn't bother me that she's an attorney as opposed to a librarian. Yeah, right. And I'm like, it's fine. It makes sense. But do you think they're going to go towards Batgirl?
I don't know, because she's not scared of, she runs headfirst into danger. She's done it multiple times. She'll do it again in other episodes that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do Robin in this series.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that after you've seen the next episode.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it was just something I thought.
It's teaming them up as allies in a different way. I don't want to use the John Blake analogy, but kind of like John Blake. The law enforcement guy who's going to, help Batman out. It's kind of not a million miles from that. So they are partners in that regard, but I don't know. Honestly, that one could go either way.
Okay. Interesting. I was just curious because she's very involved, obviously, and just like we're starting to see Batman and Jim create a little bit of a trust, we're also starting to see the same with Batman and Barbara. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder if they're going down the road, because she's also older than a Batgirl usually.
Exactly, yeah.
So I don't know. I agree with you. It could go either way. I just not sure. Anyway, we check in on Renee and Harley's date. It's going well. They're already talking about next time. They do the old school thing where you have a call, Dr. Quinzel, and they bring the phone to the table.
Yeah.
So super old school. And so she has to run. There's an emergency. But I think this is probably the deep cut you were talking about.
This is exactly the deep cut I was talking about.
Yeah. Where she says, meet me at Hopper's on Wilson and Lowry.
Wilson and Lowry. I picked up straight away. I was like, oh, Jess is like, what? I'm like, that's the name of the first two actors who played Batman. And I was like, Lewis Wilson and Robert Lowry.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
thought,
love
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, super cool, especially for big old nerds like us. But yeah, I caught that the first time too, and I was like, that is just so cool.
Yeah, loved it.
So they're gonna meet up later, but Harley's got to go back, and so she comes back, and I love when she walks in on Batman.
They have a big PDA as well before she leaves.
Oh yeah, they kiss. Yeah,
Jesus, I would have been thrown in jail in the 40s for doing that.
I know, right? But yeah, so Batman is in her. What did you call it? The playpen.
The playpen.
Does she call it that? I missed that.
Yeah, they name check it a couple of times.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. Anyway, so Batman's in there, and she walks in, and she's like, "I knew you'd find me. I knew you couldn't resist. I knew."
And this was the part where I was like, the first time I watched it, I'm like, shit, she knows who he is.
Ah, okay.
That was the part I'm like, I knew you'd find me, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, because she's psychoanalyzed Bruce, and that's what I thought it was. And then I was like, no. But she even says a line about, we should talk about that childhood trauma and stuff. And it's like, huh.
Yeah, but everyone's got their own trauma.
Yeah, true. But yeah, that just the way she says it when she first walks in, I was like, oh shit, she knows. But yeah, no, she doesn't.
Yeah. But she unleashes all of her enslaved billionaires on him. Yeah. Who become her henchmen. And so that's pretty fun that they all kind of, so you end up with these essentially these bizarre costumed henchmen versus Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. And through that fight, he ends up in one of the cells and getting trapped himself.
Pretty cool fight before that happens too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, they're just billionaires, so they're not very good, but there's more of them. So
I will point out too, one of the bats uses a cricket bat. I did notice. I thought,
oh yeah. And does one of them have a mallet? I feel like they do.
Yes. Yeah. That's when she gives it to the baby and says about the dessert. He's got a big mallet. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Him.
Okay. Yeah, so he ends up in a cell. Harley's like, listen, I got to give myself a head start, but maybe we can talk later. And she gives him 5 minutes to figure a way out before everything blows up, and she's off.
And even then, like it's would you say computer? But even then, it's still very, very low tech. Like, the timer is the little things that flip over. It's not
exactly. It's not even right. It's not even a digital clock. It is old. It's the old analog one.
Yes.
Yep. And so Barbara makes her way in, and she finds Batman in the cell, and she tries to help. She tries to break the glass with a bat. Can't do it. And then as Harley's trying to escape, she sees Barbara's car and actually comes back for her. So she is interesting in that, yes, she's a villain, but she sees her friend is there, and she knows her friend could get hurt, and so she actually goes back.
To the poison ivy analogy is like the people that she thinks that she's hurting, she's seeing as bad people. She doesn't want to hurt innocent people,
right?
She doesn't want to hurt a friend. She's doing it to these trust fund scumbags who have more money than anything else, and that's all they care about. So she's sort of walking that fine line, of almost. I don't want to say Robin Hood, but you know what I mean? Like she's making the rich give to the poor.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. So she comes back for Barbara and tries to let her escape. And she goes, well, we're not going anywhere without him, without Batman. But the mechanism has been broken because of her banging on it with the bat. And as the place starts going up, the explosion actually causes Batman's cell to literally fall out the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so he manages to escape. And then at the same time, Harley starts to fall and Barbara catches her. And she's like, let me go, Barbara or Barbie. And she goes, no,
like how she calls her Barbie. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, Barbie. And she's like, no, but yeah, Harley's like, I'm not I'm not getting locked up like all these people I've treated. And so they both fall, and Batman catches Barbara, but not Harleen, and she falls into the water.
Mm.
But we always know that when a villain falls into the water in a movie or television, they never die. And so there's a great shot after this happens where Barbara thinks that Harley is dead, and she's standing there at the cliff, and it's like the moon is huge, and she's in front of the moon, and then Batman is right behind her. It's just a beautiful shot that I thought,
Yep.
that really grabbed me. And
I like this moment too, because Batman goes from being sort of mechanical to actually showing human emotion or realizing what Barbara's going through and trying to acknowledge it, but then he can't.
I love that he like starts to lecture
He just
her.
roasts her from the first thing he says. You let your feelings of friendship or whatever like cloud your judgment. You should have left, and
he's like, your friendship.
Shut up.
Yeah, your friendship with Quinzel made you reckless. I was like, damn, Batman, give her a minute. You're not going to get this reference, but let me quote Boromir from the Fellowship of the Ring. Give them a moment, for pity's sake. But yeah, that actually made me laugh. Where I was like, Batman, dude, read the room.
But it's so Batman at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
and especially
sees that logical,
Well, and especially like this Batman, and I do think that this show, it's year 2 Batman, it's the Matt Reeves special. No fins in year 2. It's what we do. Where he's still figuring it out too, and he is good at certain things, but he is not good at all things, and he's learning, and this is
just like
perfect
Pattinson is good at being an asshole to Alfred.
Yeah. And so where it's like some of the more humane elements of Batman, he's just not there yet. He's a little too he's still a little too rough around the edges.
But you also feel in that moment you kind of see the realization of he's like, oh, I'm taking the wrong approach here. And then if the sirens didn't start to if the cops didn't start to arrive, pardon me, when they do, you can tell he was like, he wanted to show compassion. It was right there, but then he's just the way he's like, I have to leave, like essentially making sure she's okay before he goes, but he knows he has to go.
Yeah.
It's really, again, really well written and really well acted but voice acting wise, it's so good.
Yep. So he goes, leaving Barbara there, and then we check back in with Renee while she is getting stood up outside of Hopper's on Wilson and Lowry. And there ain't no cell phones, but fortunately there's a payphone right on the corner. It starts to ring. It's Harley. Big shock, she survived, but at least she thought enough to call her date to let her know. That's nice. Like, what a conscientious supervillain. I love it.
That's what I mean. She's not all bad.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to be leaving for a while. Take care of Barbie. And so
I'll look you up when I come back.
Right. And so, Renee gets just left out there in the cold, and that is the end of the stress of her regard.
I'd like to think, that Renee, being in the 40s and her persuasion and everything, that she finds a nice all-women's baseball league that she can join up to and have some fun that way.
A league of her own?
Yeah.
Awesome. So overall thoughts on this one?
Look, another really good one. I mean, we talked about the takes on Harley. I like it. But I do agree with what you're saying. Like, is she Harley Quinn? Quote unquote. Maybe not. But I do really like this character that they developed for this version of the show. I thoroughly enjoy it. Again, it moves everything forward. I love the stuff with Montoya. I actually really like the dynamic of Quinzel, Montoya, and Gordon together, like the three ladies. Like that's kind of cool. Not something you often get in a Batman show. Mm-hmm. I love that you see Gordon after the events of the last episode is just like, nose to the grindstone, working hard, like really just putting in the time, and because everyone's concerned about him. That's Montoya goes to Barbara that she's concerned that he's just working himself to the bone, and Barbara tries to talk to him and having a day off, and he's just like not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's feeling the effects of what happened previously, and yeah, it's just really, really, really good storytelling, and the Batman stuff in this is great, and yeah, top marks again. Really, really
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah, I will agree with all of that. The only thing that holds me back is my mixed feelings on this Harley. But I've already covered that because everything else you said, I do agree with. I think it's really well written. It's really smart. I do like this villain. Harley or not. I do think that she's interesting and I like what she's up to. And so I do dig it. And I love what they're playing with the relationships between Batman, Barbara, Harley, and Montoya, and I do appreciate this show. I've heard a little criticism that the show doesn't have enough Batman in it. I don't really agree with that, but I guess I get why people would say it, because the show also is going to the trouble of taking the time to develop Barbara and Jim Gordon and Montoya and Flass and Bullock. So it's spinning a lot of plates, which means Batman's not in every minute. But I feel like they use him just enough and in the right ways. It doesn't bother me at all.
But I mean, it's like that in the first two Batman movies.
Well,
Batman's not in them that much. But
well, I know, but people bitch about that too, so it doesn't matter. I feel like you bitched about that. What are you talking about?
In Returns, I think he could be used more, but I'm thinking more 89. Like, he's not in it a whole bunch, but all the other characters around him are really interesting, and they're telling their story, and it's not boring. Like, I've not once sat there watching my watch going, Christ, wish Batman would hurry up and show up. Like, it's really good.
Yeah,
it's
well,
really
and again,
good, really good.
Like in a TV series, you even get more latitude to do that.
Yes, exactly. You get more room to breathe.
Yeah, so I appreciate that it's taking time to develop all the supporting cast as well. And I feel like I don't feel shorted on Batman. So yeah, I agree. I think both of these episodes were excellent. This one too. Really enjoyed it. And so yeah, just it's going well. So that was 2 more episodes of Batman Caped Crusader. So, and then, yeah, like I said, a few weeks, month, whatever. Maybe we'll do a couple more, but really been enjoying it, like you said. And we'll see how it finishes up. And then, before we know it, we'll get another season.
Well, I'll just put it out there for the remaining, however many episodes it is now, 4? Yeah, 4. Love to be here.
Oh, okay.
love to be 4 or 5. No, 5. Sorry, 5 episodes.
5 more, yeah.
Yeah, there's 2, 1 or 2 that I'm kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter, but the majority of them, love to be here to talk about them. They're great.
I will say, there's one coming up I don't love quite as much as I've loved all the others. Let me say that.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like there was one little dip, and it makes me a little sad, but it was a little bit of a dip.
Which one was that?
They can't all be home runs.
Which one was that one?
Gentleman Ghost.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. There was still a lot. There was still a lot to like about it, but also I also felt like there was like, and I hate to feel that way because I love the idea of Gentleman Ghost, but we'll talk about it when it comes.
Oh, I get it. Actually, the next one you've got to watch, there's a Ghostbusters connection too.
Oh, great.
Because McKenna Grace is one of the voice actors in it.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, anyway, The Stress of Her Regard, and what was the other one? The Night of the Hunters, Batman Cape Crusader, now available on Amazon Prime, but you already know it. But before we say goodbye, it is time to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, this first email here is from Ren. It says, "Hey, Bat Brothers, with James Gunn's Superman less than a year away, I was wondering if you'd consider having some episodes discussing your top 10 Superman the Animated Series episodes and your favorite Superman collectibles or toys. I've always enjoyed your discussions on Batman the Animated Series and Batman toys and collectibles, but it would be cool to hear the same about the Big Blue Boy Scout. Thanks for all the wonderful Batman and DC community that you've built, and please keep the bat signal shining. All the best, Ren." Thanks so much, Ren, and I love that idea. I mean, yeah, we definitely want to celebrate some Superman leading up to the release of the new film, and it's a good idea and a good way to do it. So I'll go ahead and file those away until
Trying to
I
think
feel.
straight away, like I'd probably struggle with the toys for that because I never really had a lot of Superman toys.
I had some, but not like Batman,
Oh God,
obviously.
no. Yeah.
Obviously.
Like
I
for
had
every 15 Batman action figures I had, I might have had one random Superman one in there.
Yeah, but it wouldn't even have to be toys we've owned. It could just be Superman toys that we remember or something. So
Yeah,
I don't
true.
know. Yeah, there are options, but I like where your head's at, Ren, and I will keep that in mind. Thank you. All right, next email here is from Mark. Mark Bickford. It says, "Hey guys, first Andy, congratulations on your incoming son. I hope everything goes wonderfully. Just beware, if a couple Christmases from now, when Harley is 4 or 5 and her brother is 2, and she comes at you and asks, 'You named me Harley, don't you think I should get a mallet for Christmas?' Question her motivations carefully." I also have bad news. The Batman restaurant in London closed last spring. Supposedly, they want to reopen the Monarch Theater interactive experience, but the last time I looked, I didn't see any news on that. I'm glad I got to go, and I'm glad Catherine got to go, but I'm sorry that the rest of you missed it. Regarding the question you got about superhero movies that were missed opportunities, I'll throw in one that looked amazing, had great potential, and then they blew it. Alec Baldwin as the Shadow. Some of the choices, his face changing, the stupid discussion about ties, it just breaks my heart every time I watch it because they were so close. I enjoyed your Green Lantern episode. Did you see the thread on Twitter where Ryan Reynolds live tweeted it, his first ever watch of the film? 3 tweets stand out in my memory. First, his comment that "The oath holds up. I stand by my reading of the oath." Second, he posted a screen grab of Carol dressing down Hal with Ryan standing there with his head down and his hands in his pockets and captioned, "I feel like this sums up my entire life as a parent." And then finally, his summation where he saluted all the people who worked hard to make the movie and proclaimed it nothing to fear. Okay, I have a question that might have you scrolling through your inbox looking for an email from Chris, the Objective Geek, instead. A particular writer, I'm talking about Gerald Jones, went to prison and DC pulled his books off digital. He has since been released, having, as they said, paid his debt to society. He's written a public apology, and I recently saw him in a DC documentary. Maybe it was the one on Vice from last spring. My question is, do you think DC should put his books back up? Some of them were considered pretty important at the time. I'm not suggesting they should give him new work, but what do you think about them still keeping his older stuff on the servers or releasing them? Thanks as always for a great podcast, Mark. Oh, Mark, this was a lot. Thank you for the kind words about the incoming addition to the family. We are less than 2 months away, and I can't even wrap my head around it. So that's crazy. That's a bummer about the Batman restaurant, but I can't say I'm surprised based on the last I had heard. Alec Baldwin as the Shadow. You know what? I just rewatched that like a month or two ago, and I like it. I don't love it. I don't think you're wrong. But I like it. I guess I have a soft spot for like the attempt at the resurgence of those pulp heroes in the 90s. I did not know Ryan Reynolds live tweeted his watching of Green Lantern. I need to go find that because that's cool. And then finally the questions. Gerard Jones, I guess he was a DC writer who went to prison. I'm not familiar with him or his work. Brendan, are you?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, same. So I'm not even. I was surprised to read this. I'm like, I hadn't heard anything about this. But I guess the bigger question is do you think that DC should keep his stuff locked away, like unavailable, or just leave him available as is? Brendan, what do you think?
Don't know, because I don't know what the guy did.
I don't either. I have no clue, right?
And it's one of those things, like, separate the art from the artist, but I don't know, it's so hard. Like, I've only just been able to start, watching Will Smith again and stuff after the slap. Like, it just, that really, really turned me off him. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I don't want to sit here and go, oh, look, separate the art from the artist. It should be two different things, blah, 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 blah. And then find out that, he was a pedophile and, hurt so many kids. Like, I don't know. It's a really touchy one. And I can understand in this day and age why a company would just, put it under lock and key and forget about it. But, I do understand the whole thing of, like, can you separate the art from the artist? So I don't know the answer.
We got a question like this recently on Disorder as well. It wasn't exactly like this, but it was essentially the same thing. And I'm going to give a very similar answer is I don't think any good comes from deleting content.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that's the answer. And people can choose to consume it or read it or watch it or not. I just feel like just deleting things and making them unavailable, to me, like, it doesn't feel right. And yeah, like, I don't know what this guy did, but, like, God, like, how many celebrities, like, have done questionable things or said questionable things or whatever. Like, if we were to delete every movie or TV show made by someone who we find out was maybe not a great person, like, there would be very little to watch or enjoy. So that's in no way condoning any sort of horrible thing that any celebrity might have done.
I get what you're saying.
But also, like, where do you draw the line? It's like, the content was created, the movie was created, the comic books were written, the whatever. It should still be available. And if you personally, you do some research and you find out whatever this guy did was, like, so abhorrent to you that you're like, I will never read a book of his, that's your right. And I support you, but, like, deleting it and not making it available at all also feels like unnecessary to me.
Mm-hmm. Just to bring it back to a light topic, I will say, really enjoyed the conversation / tangent that you and Jamie went on the other episode about the missed opportunities. That was really fun.
Well, and it's what essentially prompted us to eventually do the Green Lantern episode.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of indirectly where, that came up and I was like, man, we've been talking about this for a while. Let's just do it. But yeah, I mean, man, there's tons of them. Well, talking about missed opportunities, DC missed opportunities, actually, by the time you hear this, you'll have already heard another episode about a DC missed opportunity.
Oh.
So, yeah, if things go as planned, it will be the episode prior to the one you're listening to right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
You'll have to message me or tell me when we finish recording.
I'll tell you what it is. It's weird to play coy because, again, this is supposed to come out after.
Because, like, my stock standard answer for that, Superman Returns.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of them, and especially on the DC side of things. All right, next email here is from Joshua. It says, hey, Andy, Jamie, and Brendan. I wanted to email you guys, let you know that I watched The Dark Knight in IMAX last night. It was shown for 3 nights at the Bullock Museum in downtown Austin, Texas. After watching and experiencing the film the way it was meant to be seen, I can finally say I totally understand the hype behind this film in IMAX. That, and I had never seen the movie before in a theater. I was 7 years old when it was released. Christopher Nolan.
Christ, I feel old.
Yep. Christopher Nolan has always hyped up the IMAX format for us to watch for a long time, and now I can see why. The sound system was gorgeous, as well as the IMAX sequences. Everything felt like a beautiful painting meant to be framed shot by shot. I took my sisters with me. One of them saw Batman 89 with me at the Draft House, and she loves the movie so much. Her loving The Dark Knight and complimenting the IMAX was the best win I ever had. My other sister turns 10 in November, and she admitted she was terrified of some of the scenes because of the Hans Zimmer score. She didn't sit next to me, so I couldn't tell how afraid she was where the Joker was terrorizing the fake Batman. I was so busy admiring the cinematography, it didn't bother me. Thank you guys for the commentary. It was so cool to listen to. I hope you have a great one, Joshua. Thanks, Joshua. I love that you had the experience to see it in IMAX. I am not nearly the loyalist to IMAX that Christopher Nolan is, but when it comes to The Dark Knight, hell yes. It really does make a difference. Seeing that movie in IMAX is just freaking fantastic. You know, those sequences, he planned for it, and boy, does it show. So for certain movies, that IMAX experience is truly outstanding. And The Dark Knight, I think, is the gold standard. So I am so glad this many years later that someone in Texas showed it and you got to go, because that's amazing. So I'm super jealous, and I'm glad that you had a great time.
I'm just still getting my head around someone being 7 years old when that movie came out.
Yeah, that's
man.
how it works. Yep.
I had a moment yesterday where I realized it's 20 years in the next week or so since I met and became friends with one of my closest friends, Kel. And I was just like, Christ, you know, you're getting on when you've been friends with someone for 20 years that you didn't meet in high school.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Scotty and I have been friends for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we met as adults. All right, I got one last one here. This is from James Warney. It says, "Good day, my pumpkin spice brethren." Yeah, Brendan, take that. Even though I'm super excited for this new version of Batman and a new film in the DCU, I equally have some concerns logistically with it. I'd love nothing more than to see the entire Bat family, but I find it hard to believe, even in a semi-realistic world, that a billionaire bachelor in his late 30s or early 40s could go through 3 adopted sons, Tim, Jason, and Dick, all of them varying in ages, and then one biological son, without the public having some kind of concerns themselves about the boys.
That's a good point.
I get that in the comics it all works because we have decades of material and adaptations to go through. I just don't see how we can get through all these Robins and Batgirl in one film without it feeling cramped or not making sense in the real world. Anyway, sorry for the long message. Hope everyone on Holy BatCast is having a great day, James. Thanks, James. Fair enough. Brendan, thoughts?
I said it's a good point. Look, I wouldn't be too concerned about it being in one movie, though. You know, I don't think. I mean, obviously, we're getting Damien in The Brave and the Bold from what we've heard, but I don't think that means automatically you're going to have 3 other Robins show up as well.
Yeah.
You know, my hopes would be for Nightwing to show up, and then, you know, spin off into his own movie. And then if you want to introduce, you know, Tim and Jason, F Jason, you don't need to have Jason in there. You know, you can, but you know, the main ones for me is I want to see Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and, you know, and Nightwing. So
yeah, I agree. And I think you're right. Like, I never expected they have the whole Bat family in The Brave and the Bold either.
It's too complicated.
It is. And to your point, like, yeah, trying to get through them all and try to make the timeline work. Yeah, those are challenges. I don't think they're insurmountable. Because I also think, I mean, it's all gonna depend on, like, how old is Batman supposed to be in The Brave and the Bold?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you kind of have to work backwards. But let's say he's 40 years old. He could have started being Batman when he was 25 years old. You know, that's a little younger than usual. But you know, like, you know, and when Batman Begins, he's 30.
Mm-hmm.
But you can back it up a little bit, say 25, right? That still gave him 7 years after high school to travel the world and become Batman. That's 15 years where, that's enough time to have a couple of Robins plus a son. So I guess what I'm saying is it's possible, but I do understand your point and I think it's valid, but you've got to do a little bit of kind of sleight of hand with the timeline to make it work. But it's tricky because it's a lot to fit in. I kind of agree with you, Brendan. I think the cleanest way to do it, even though I hate to admit it because of how much I love Tim, the cleanest way to do it is Damian is present, and then you have Nightwing as a previous Robin out there as well. And then maybe Batgirl. And and that feels a much easier pill to swallow and much easier to explain.
Yes. Just streamline it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's valid, but they're, in the first movie, I wouldn't expect them to tackle all of that anyway. It's also one of those things where it's like, we know it's a Bruce Damian story. So they also could mention the previous Robins without getting into great detail, because for the first movie, that's all you need is just acknowledgement of like, they exist, they're out there, it happened, and maybe we can revisit that later.
Yeah, no, agreed.
All right, well, there you go. We're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you've got something for us, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But that'll do it for this episode, Brendan. Good to have you back.
Mate, good to be back and good to talk some animated Batman.
Right, for sure.
Animated Batman.
Brand new. We finally got a new animated Batman TV show. Been waiting a while. It's been a minute.
Oh, haven't we what?
Yeah.
It's been even longer for it to be a good one too.
I know. I was going to say, so glad that it's so good. That's the best part. All right. Anywhere we can keep up with you these days. What you up to?
On Facebook in the Real Fans groups and on Letterboxd, you can find me.
Yeah,
I'm not going as hardcore with my Scarathon this year as I did last year.
I was going to say, come on, let's go. It's time. Just find ones that Henry can watch with you.
Oh, it's not even a scheduling thing. I messaged in our group chat the other day, like I did it. Oh, it was on a post actually. I did 104 movies for Scarathon last year.
Holy crap!
And as you get older, years start to move a little faster. So after putting in that effort, 11 months ago since I finished doing it, I still feel like I'm kind of horror movied out a little bit. so this year, like I am planning on diving in, particularly come October to some movies, but I've kind of taken a different approach this year. I've started with some TV series. So I watched Midnight Mass, which I hadn't seen. It'd been on my list, but I hadn't seen it yet. Followed up with Fall of the House of Usher. So both fantastic. And I'm currently about halfway through The Watcher TV series on Netflix. So I don't know if I'll dive into another series after I finish The Watcher. There's another one I've got my eye on, but I might start sprinkling in some movies. But come October, I'll be all movies all the time. So yeah, I'll get there. I'm not even trying to hit the numbers that I hit last year. Last year was insane. I dove in the deep end just all the way last year.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, you're watching good stuff. I mean, we've been talking about it, but those are all good choices. The Watcher is very good too, but I'll be interested to talk to you when you finish it. Okay. It's good. It is good. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's good.
No.
But very cool. All right. Well, I'm doing my Scarathon as well. It's mostly on Letterboxd, but also in the Real Fans groups. But you guys already know where to find me. I told you that at the beginning, but thanks as always for joining us. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. Please do follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We would love that. Something else that we would love is if you would rate and review us where you get your podcasts. A good, happy 5-star review goes a long way, and it's free. It doesn't take anything but a minute of your time, and it really does help us out. So please do that. We would love it. Again, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. But that will do it for our Caped Crusader episode. On behalf of Brendan, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. Is my phone on Do Not Disturb? It is not, so let me do that. So that way nobody disturbs us. This is our time.
It's been even longer since we've recorded, so yeah, we need.
I know. I'm gonna be done so quick. Yeah. I should warn you. It's been so long.
There's your post credit.